We now return to Cincinnati's rock legends on Star 64. Born and raised in Cincinnati, Bootsy Collins started hanging around King Records in his early teens. His reputation quickly grew, and after playing on the road with Hank Ballard, he got his really big break. He was only 17.
Oh, I started Bootsy.
The big call came. We was playing at this place called the Wine Bar on Gilbert Avenue. It's about big as this room, and, and then we was on stage rehearsing for a benefit that night, and Bobby Bird had called, and he was saying that James Brown needed us down there to play, to play the show. And we thought he was joking, and okay. An hour later, he was there, to pick us up.
I had Bobby Bird to go to Cincinnati and fly them back in the little jet.
We made it down to Columbus, Georgia, and next thing we know, Bobby said, "Come on, y'all, we gotta go in here, we gotta do the show." And then it dawned on us that we actually gotta play behind James Brown. We have not rehearsed. We haven't done, all of the above, we hadn't even thought about it.
James Brown had an audience waiting for a show, but his regular backup band was thinking about quitting right there on the spot.
When the fellows said they were gonna quit, I was begging, don't quit. And all the same time, I had Bootsy and them setting up.
Then we see like the old band we kind of hear this arguing and fussing, and it's like, whoa, what the heck have we done here? And these are like our heroes,
I said, now you quit? They said, yeah, we quit. I said, you sure you quit? I said, hit it, fellas. And Bootsy and them hit.
And I said, well, how would we know what you're gonna do? And he said, I'm gonna call them off on stage, So that was it. When we hit the stage, he called them off. We hit them, and he had told, we had, all the bands around at that particular time kind of knew all of James's stuff anyway, so I think he kind of figured we knew everything he did anyway, so it was a piece of cake. We loved being with James Brown, but at the same time, all these other bands, and we wanted to be like a band that was like out front looking crazy, doing our own thing, because that's what was coming in. The hippie days were coming in, and the peace and love, and we couldn't express that the way we wanted to because we was with James Brown,
After leaving James Brown, Bootsy teamed up with George Clinton for a string of hits with the groups Funkadelic and Parliament.
He even suggested that I did a solo thing. It was his suggestion because I always just wanted to do the band thing. I was happy being in a wild and crazy band, just all of us just acting a fool. I was happy about that. But he seen something then, I guess, that, I should do a solo thing. So it was his suggestion that I do a solo record. And while I'm cutting Funkadelic and cutting Parliament tracks, I should go ahead and cut some stuff on me. And let's shop it around. So that's what we did, All the time I was cutting Funkadelic tracks, Parliament tracks, I was cutting Bootsy's Rubber Band tracks too. The next thing you know, we all got together and started doing the road thing. We was opening up, and everybody wanted to know who was this cat that was opening up for Funkadelic and Parliament, And next thing you know, the record came out, and they were saying, they was relating the Star Glasses and the Star Bass, Bootsy, what's a Bootsy? Bootsy, And then the next thing you know, we kept doing tours, and then the audience started saying, we want Bootsy, we want Bootsy. Yeah, well, we always wanted to be. As crazy as you could possibly get. And I don't know, I never put a limit on what it could be like, I just kept, what wouldn't somebody do?
Since 1976, Bootsy Collins has sold millions of albums. He still continues to have an on-again, off-again love affair with touring and performing. Walks in the woods on his farm just outside Cincinnati helps him keep a clear picture.
I think that's what life is all about. As long as you can still reach for stuff and be creative, When a person is not able to create, I think it's like over.
There used to be a lot of rock clubs in Cincinnati. There was the old Black Dome, and there were but plenty of places where live rock groups played. And in the early 70s, it became cheaper for club owners to play records. It was dealing with rock bands in the clubs were a hassle for the club owners, and it was much more expensive, and it didn't always work anyway. And frequently the bands got and they wanted to play their material, not the stuff that the audience wanted to hear. So club owners started playing records, and it eliminated an outlet for local musicians to be heard. We saw an opportunity there, and actually we knew a lot of bands and everything like that. And you felt sorry for all these musicians, and so we came up with the idea of doing a record of just local music. And so we put a promo in the air, inviting people to send in their tapes, not having any idea what would happen. were swamped with tapes. Just unbelievable stuff. So many that that listening to all of them fairly became a real problem. Maybe 200 or 300 the first year, and the second year 300 or 400, and the third year 400 or 500, and I mean, it was unbelievable. And not all of them recorded on a cassette machine in a bathtub either. I mean, some of them were, but an awful lot of them people had spent the time and to really work on something. And it was pretty easy to take it from 500 down to 50, but the album would only hold 12, and it was very difficult to take it from 50 or 40 down to 12. I mean, that was sort of the tougher part. It was great for the Cincinnati music scene. It was great for the musicians that made the album. It was a pain in the ass for the radio station because we'd have 488 disappointed people, each one of whom thought, this isn't fair, why didn't get on it? And over the years, there were an awful lot of very funny songs. We always had to have a novelty tune or two. Music, Sex, and Cookies is still one of the town favorites, I think. There were some local bands that got to be staples. A lot of grumbling that Wheels seemed to end up on every single album. But every year they came up with a dynamite tune that was well produced, and they'd gone into a 16-track studio and they'd gone to the trouble. It really was quality stuff, and they always seemed to have a hit off that album. I think the funniest one was, we had a song one time called A Bus Full of Nuns Holding Babies. And the line, I think, was a bus full of nuns holding babies went off the cliff. It was a very dark, funny song. And we got Al Shuttlecotty in the music video, and it was one of the funny. And Al Shuttlecotty at the time was the dean of Cincinnati news, and the guy had a great sense of humor. It was the funniest thing you've ever seen. Now, by today's technical standards, no, it was awful. But in terms of getting a humorous idea across, it was absolutely good.
Baby smashing into the ground, reported right his eyes on his blood-stained sleeve, and said the nuns were blind and the kids were refugees. It was a bus full of nuns holding babies, a bus full of nuns holding babies, a bus full of nuns holding babies in their arms went off the cliff.
Gradually, it got to be, it died of its own weight. Too many people wanted to get in it, but the technology was changing. I'm not sure I remember that there was a decision to, this year we're not doing an album project. One year it didn't happen.